Hi, my name is Anna Grothy, and I am doing my rebuttal against Mackenzie Cavangh's debate, and I will be taking the position that the International Criminal Court has not done an effective job trying war criminals. While the ICC was established with noble intentions and does offer a platform to bring justice of war crimes, genocide, and crimes against humanity, it has failed to largely deliver on its promises in practice. It is capable of crossing those state lines where national laws cannot, but it is ineffective in its policies. It has structural flaws, insufficiencies, and allegations of bias that have hindered its ability to function as an effective mechanism for holding war criminals accountable. I will outline issues related to the ICC's limited jurisdiction, slow processes, accusations of bias, and failure to deter atrocities. First of all, its limited membership and jurisdiction. Its authority is undermined by the absence of major powers such as the United States, China, and Russia, which are not party to the Rome Statute. While these non-membership gaps mean that the ICC cannot prosecute crimes committed by the citizens of these nations unless referred to by the UN Council. So whether the UN, where Russia, China, and the United States hold the majority of the power, has to give permission for citizens of the UN or for citizens of the US, of Russia, of China to be prosecuted under the ICC, which means that affirmative bias is much more prevalent and you won't really see it against larger nations. This exclusion creates a double standard. Smaller states are held accountable while powerful nations and allies remain immune. Without universal jurisdiction, the ICC's ability to deliver accurate global justice is fundamentally compromised. Since its establishment in 2002, the ICC has secured only 10 convictions out of more than 30 cases, which is a poor record considering the scale of international crimes. You're not being charged or prosecuted for petty theft. This is the death of thousands of innocent people. Most of the time is what we're talking about. They take years to complete and often result in minimal impact for victims seeking justice. For example, the Cavangh case, which led to a conviction for recruiting child soldiers, took 6 years from arrest to sentencing. Such delays erode the trust in the ICC's ability to provide timely and effective justice. One could argue that this is just an effect of any criminal court case, but when it's on such a large global impact, it affects the entire world and needs to be run at a much more efficient pace than courts that are seeing thousands of cases every month. Critics that argue that the ICC disproportionately targets African nations, fueling accusations of neocolonialism. While atrocities occur globally, the majority of ICC investigations and prosecutions have focused on Africa, leading to perceptions that the court is selectively enforcing international law. This focus has alienated many African states, with some even threatening to withdraw from the ICC, weakening its legitimacy further. You see this with that photo of Obama that we saw in the lecture, that they choose to turn a blind eye to certain dictators that benefit them economically, and the UN won't give permission to go after, but other smaller nation states in Africa to give powers to that dictatorship. It has a failure to deter crimes. Despite its existence, it has not effectively deterred war crimes and atrocities. Conflicts in Syria, Ukraine, and Yemen continue unabated, with perpetrators often operating without fear of prosecution. The court's inability to hold powerful actors accountable diminishes its credibility as a deterrent force. Deterrence requires not just the threat of prosecution, but also consistent enforcement, which the ICC has failed to achieve. If it had a better court record of seeing only 30 cases and only having prosecution within 10 of those, maybe it would be a different case. But because there's no real consequence to those that have gone to trial even really, there's no thing holding it back. It's better than nothing. However, no international mechanism for justice, than having no international mechanism for justice, but however, a flawed institution that enforces justice inconsistently can cause more harm than good by fostering resentment and skepticism. For example, the court's focus on certain regions such as Africa, while excluding larger powerful nations, no one's gonna think that that's a fair and balanced court. It has focused on exacerbated political tensions and undermined local reconciliation efforts. It's setting legal precedents, but such as prosecuting child soldier recruitment, while these successes are overshadowed by its ability to address more widespread atrocities. These precedents often fail to translate into practical global deterrence due to limited enforcement capabilities and different cultural norms across the world. It's a complementary principle of encouraging domestic prosecution. However, it often fails in practice. Weak or corrupt judicial systems in many conflict-affected states cannot prosecute war criminals effectively, leaving justice unserved despite the ICC's involvement. Omar al-Bansar is an example of its weakness. Indicted for genocide in Darfur, he continues to travel freely to non-member and member states without being apprehended or facing any pushback, really. This inability to enforce arrest warrants highlights the court's reliance on state cooperation, which is often lacking. While the ICC was created to ensure accountability for the world's worst crimes, it has not lived up to its mandate and can actually be more harmful than helpful in many cases.